With the average person receiving around 121 emails a day, how do you make sure that your message as a business owner rises to the top so they might want to click on it? Let me show you how to build an automated email nurturing workflow using Orkes Conductor and SendGrid. Whether you're encouraging them to sign up for a webinar or schedule a demo or an in-person meeting, a well-timed follow-up or well-timed email can be significant in improving lead conversion. So in this example, I'm going to show you how to use SendGrid Webhooks to help automate a whole process for tracking real-time email, events such as clicks and bounces, and a lot more. And we'll do that in conjunction with a workflow in Orkes Conductor. Let's take a look. First, let's go to orkes.io. We'll click on Resources and go to Blog. And here at the top, our newest blog, SendGrid Webhooks for Email Nurturing Workflows. Let's click on that, and this is going to guide you through exactly how to set up what I'm about to show you in this video. So if you want to follow along, this is the blog for you. In the workflow, there's two main things that are happening. The first thing is, here at the top, we're going to wait for the webhook from SendGrid. This is when SendGrid sends out the email to someone, and we're going to wait for a notification that that happened. The second piece is under a switch task. We have two different tasks that are listed here. One is wait before open follow-up, and then wait before click follow-up. And the distinction here is that when we do a little wait timer before someone opens up the email, and when they do open the email, then we're going to send a follow-up email using this task here. And in the other event, in the other path, we've got to wait before click. So we're going to sit here and wait until they've actually clicked something in that, and then send a follow-up, a different follow-up for that. And then that will wrap up the whole workflow. Okay, first step is we're going to get into Orkes Developer Edition, and I'll show you how to build out the workflow from there. Let's head back to orkes.io, and right here on the homepage, you'll see the big pink Start for Free button. I'm going to click on that. It's going to take you to our Orkes Conductor Developer Edition, which is a free developer sandbox that you can use to follow along. If you haven't used it before, there will be an option to go ahead and create a brand new account for yourself. Otherwise, log in with your credentials, and we'll get started. When you first log into Orkes Conductor Developer Edition, you land here on our Workflow Executions page, so you can see all the recently executed workflows that have occurred. And I would encourage you, before you get started, if you haven't done this yet, click on our Get Started tab. This will walk you through building your first application, start to finish, with a sample project. You can get used to how to actually do this live before you go into any details. That way it'll minimize some confusion. If this is your first time building a workflow with Orkes Conductor, I'd encourage you to click on the Get Started button first in the upper left corner and follow these 3 easy steps to create your first application, download a sample project, and then turn that into a workflow you can execute successfully. All right, so going back to the workflow definitions, our first step is to create the workflow. So on the left, I'm going to go under the Definitions menu and Workflow, and then I'll click Define Workflow in the upper right corner. This will give us a blank workflow we can add in. Now in the blog, and you'll see under Step 1, that we actually have the workflow JSON laid out for you. So to make things easier, go ahead and click the little copy button in the upper right corner there, go back to our workflow definition, and here in the visualizer, under the Code tab, I'm going to highlight what's here, delete it, and paste in our workflow. And you can see that at the bottom, we got the green bar saying 0 problems found. Fantastic. Our workflow is built. All the steps I mentioned earlier on are listed here. And great, our workflow is built, and we can see all the tasks in the visualizer that we just created with that JSON. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, hit confirm, and now we have a workflow. Next, we're going to go over to SendGrid and get an account set up if you don't already have one. For this example, we're going to use Twilio's SendGrid platform to allow for the email campaigns to be built and sent out. So if you don't have an account yet, you'll want to go over to sendgrid.com, click on the Start for Free button in the upper right corner, create your first account, and once you're in, we can move on with the next step. To get our API key, I'm going to log into SendGrid, and go down to the Settings menu on the left, and click on API Keys. What you would do is click on Create API Key, give it a name, let's call this Email Nurture, leave it at the full access permissions, hit Create and View, and you'll get this pop-up window with a brand new API key. Please make sure to click on this key and copy it by simply clicking in the field anywhere. You'll get a little copied note. It's added to your clipboard. Paste that someplace because this is the only time you'll get access to that information. Okay, great. Now that we have our API key, we want to add that in as a secret into Conductor so we can use it for this workflow, but for future workflows as well. So I'll go back to Orkes Conductor. I'm going to click on the Secrets tab on the left-hand side. Here I'll click on Add Secret. Let's give it a name. And in this example, we've just named it this way. Under Secret Value, I'm going to paste my API key. I'll hit Add, and now we have a new secret listed in Conductor called SendGrid. So if I click back to Workflow, click on Email Nurturing, and then click on, let me scroll down to that task. It's called Send Open Follow-Up Email. When I click on that task and scroll to the top, you can see that here in the middle, we have our authorization section. Here's our header for authorization. It's a bearer token. And here's the string that it's looking for. It's specifically looking for the SendGrid secret. So the workflow is already configured to look for that. So we needed to make sure that our secret was named that so it would just automatically grab it and run. You could name these though, whatever you want. Okay, the next step is to create our webhook. Now you'll notice that the very first task in this workflow is a webhook, but we haven't created that yet in Conductor. We just have a task here that's saying, listen for a webhook and then do some action. So what we need to do is on the left, click on the webhook section of the definitions. We're going to define a new webhook. We're going to give it a unique name. We'll call mine SendGrid Webhook. And then in this second menu, we'll pull this down, and this is where we're going to actually select our workflow so the two are mapped together. Click on Email Nurturing, and the source platform is going to be SendGrid. Now it's looking for a verification key. That's going to be a step we do here in just a couple of minutes, and I'll show you how we do that. I'm going to click on Save. Great. We have a new webhook that's been saved. We have a URL for that webhook, and it's listed as unverified, so we'll need to verify that by actually setting this up in SendGrid so that we can receive the event webhooks from that platform. And once we complete that process, it'll give us a verification key that we can paste in here. Let's go through that. I'm going to go back to SendGrid. We're going to go over to the left-hand menu under Settings, and then we're going to go to Mail Settings. We're going to select Event Webhooks, and then we'll click the button that says Create a New Webhook. Give it a friendly name. I'm going to say Orkes Conductor Webhook. The post URL is what we got when we created the webhook in Conductor. So I'll go back over here. I'm still on the webhook screen. I'll copy this URL, come back to SendGrid, and I will paste it into this field. And for this example, we're going to use the opened and clicked actions to be posted to that webhook. There's a lot of other options you have here. You can definitely play with those in a future example, but we're just going to use these two for this time. And the last thing we need to set for this webhook is under signature verification, we're going to enable signed event webhooks. And then I will save this. Great. Our webhook is set up. Now the one other piece of information we need here is the verification key. So I'll go back on the right-hand side on the settings gear icon, click on edit, and what I should have here is a verification key listed now that I've saved it and it works. So I'm going to copy that, and I will go back over to my webhook definition in Conductor. I'm going to paste that into the verification key, and I'll hit save. Now, it still shows unverified because we need to actually send a test message over so that Conductor knows that this is working, and then this will change to verified. So back on the webhook in SendGrid, I'm going to click on the test integration button. We get a note saying the sample event notification is going to be sent to the endpoint shortly. Fantastic. I will go back to Conductor. When I refresh the screen, there we go. This is changed to verified, and on the right-hand side, we see an executions history that shows that it was matched, and we're all good with the webhook. Awesome. So let's go back to the workflow itself, email nurturing here on the screen, and we're going to run this. Get this thing running so it's waiting for an event to come through. Then we can go create our first email and get that sent out. Now, something we need to make sure to set here is the email address that it's going to be, these messages are going to be sent from. Click on the send open follow-up email first. I am just going to change this to the email address I used when I created my SendGrid account. When you type an email address in here, use whatever you used and verified for your SendGrid account. Then we also need to go over to the send click follow-up email and do the same thing there. I'm going to hit confirm. Great. The workflow is now ready to run. For this test, I'm just going to start with an open email. We're going to follow just that path so you can see what this actually functions like, but it will respond to both. I'm going to go back over to the workflow, click on the Run tab. I'm just going to add the parameter open, and then I'll click on Run Workflow. Excellent. You can see now that the workflow has started. In the top here of the screen under the execution, it says it's running. And we can see that the very first task is the webhook task, and it's waiting for a webhook to trigger and send it over to Conductor. I'm going to go back over to SendGrid. I go to the marketing menu and down to single send, because we're just going to send a single email. Your first step is to click on the create a single send button. And for this instance, I'm just going to use a template that they already have just to make things a little bit easier. So I'll click on this very first template. I'm going to use the design editor by selecting, and we get this very standardized email. I'm not really going to worry about what's in here. It just gives us something to work with. Bits of data. On the left, we'll need to manipulate some of these attributes to get this ready. So I'll call this a conductor single send. When you go to click on the from sender, you can't type an email address here. So what you'll need to do is click on create new sender. It'll give you a pop-up window to create a new sender, and this is going to launch a different workflow that you'll need to add in an email address by giving some additional information. It'll send a test, and you'll have to do the verification there. But once that's done, just takes a couple of minutes. Once that's done, like you see here, you'll have an email address listed in the system as a sender. Now back on the email draft that I'm going to send, I can now select from sender, and my email address shows up here, so I'll pick that. There's a subject line. You can manipulate that. And then if we scroll down a little bit, now you have to select the recipient. If you haven't added any contacts to the tool for testing purposes, you'll need to do that here before you can select them, just like we had to select the from sender above. On the home screen under marketing, if I click on contacts, this is where you can add in either a single or a bunch of contacts. What I did in the upper right corner is click add to contacts button, manual add, and you get a page here where you can fill out some additional details of the person you want to send that to, hit the add contacts button, and then you can pick which list you want. I just added it to global under all contacts, and that's the one we're going to use as the recipient for this. I'm going to go back into the drafting of the email. So under send to on the left, I'll click on all contacts. And by clicking that, because it's the email address I added as part of the all contacts list here, that will encompass everyone. Under unsubscribe from group, I'm just going to use the global unsubscribe. It's a template. Under schedule here at the bottom, before you actually send your test email, change it from specify date and time to send immediately. In the upper right corner, I'm going to click on review details and send. And then I can hit send. Hit confirm. And now you can see that under the single send here in SendGrid, the single email that I put together and hit sent out has gone. It's sent. So we're good to go here. Let's go back over to our workflow execution and just take a look and make sure that this is updated accordingly. Now, the workflow is still running because it's received it and it's got that information, but you'll notice down below that what we're looking for is either to wait before the email's been opened or to wait before a click. Now, I haven't actually opened the email yet, so let me show you what happens here to the workflow after I do that. I've come over to my email tab here and you can see the emails listed. I'll click on that and there it is. Switch back over to Conductor. I can see that the webhook execution has completed. It moved on to the switch task. And now you can notice that under the open path, the tasks under the open path here, that is what was indicated by these green lines. And you can see the wait before open follow-up is actively running. If we refresh it, we'll see this is completed. Perfect. We can notice that the wait task completed because I opened the email. It was waiting for that indication to come through. And then a follow-up email was sent, and we can verify that by going back to my email. Look, there it is. If I go back to SendGrid and go under marketing and single sends, click on the single send name, you'll notice that an email was triggered, traffic has gone out, the email went out, there's been a unique open, and there would be more if I did more actions such as a unique click. If there was a clickable link in there, this would change as well. It's really helpful to know that we have this built out and this mechanism works, but this was just a test. And most often emails aren't going to go out immediately and see a response immediately. So we want to have these wait tasks set to wait for a longer period of time to make sure there's enough time given for somebody to receive the email and potentially click it before the actions are then taken. Back under definitions, I'll click on workflow and I'll click on the email nurturing flow. Click on wait, the first wait task, and I'm going to change the wait time to be, we're going to say 3 days. And then we'll click on the other wait task and set that to also be 3 days. Then we'll save the workflow. Okay, now we've updated both tasks to wait for up to 3 days before any sort of error or failure occurs. And in Conductor, we have the ability to schedule this to run. So I'm going to click on the Scheduler tab on the left-hand side. We'll click on Define Schedule. And here you can give it a name, a description, choose a template you want to start with, add in your cron expression, select the workflow name, everything you need to actually set this thing to run on any schedule that you want. Congratulations, you now have an automated email nurturing flow that could be used for an upcoming product launch or an event or some other kind of release that will go out on whatever schedule you need it to with whatever email copy you want to use to better engage with your clients and prospective customers. And if you want to do A/B testing or things of that nature, you can use workflow versioning in Conductor to have various versions of workflows that can be sent out to different different groups and test how that copy works. Now that you have this automated nurturing workflow, you can copy it and reuse it as much as you want to, build a variety of different email campaigns in SendGrid, and they're always going to be connected together for a better experience with your existing customers or prospective future customers. If you found this useful, check out our other blogs at orkes.io/blogs. Put a comment in the video here to let us know whether use cases or situations you'd like to see us try to build out using Orkes Conductor. Feel free to join the community, both on Slack and on Discourse. Thanks for watching.